Aight, bro, believe it or not, but this life that you're living right now most likely ain't your first and might not even be your last.
Sir, can you hear me? Do you know where you are?
Chill out, bud. You don't have to yell. Huh? Who's that?
Blood pressure dropping.
Grab a transfusion. Stay with us. Can you tell me your name, sir? Can you hear me?
I'm dying, aren't I? Oh well. It's not like I had some awesome plans in mind. I wish I'd at least gotten to lose my virginity. This is weak. Oh, my eyes. Am I still alive?
What goes around comes around, as life is nothing but a big set of cycles. None more important than the cycle of life and death, aka Samsara, a central piece to many spiritual philosophies and religions of time. From Hinduism, Buddhism, Gnostic teachings, and even Greek mythology, this ancient concept of Samsara can be found in cultures all over the world. And while the interpretations of this ideology might differ from tradition to tradition, they all essentially can be broken down to come back and connect at one single point, which is the fact that you mother have been trapped within the cycle of reincarnation. I just chill, you're gonna be fine, let me just explain myself. This idea of samsara starts off with the notion that we all come from the heavens, and that this journey of life is to see who's gonna make it back, as our soul, aka the Atman, is immortal. It has existed before birth and will continue to exist after our death. And depending on how the previous life or lives were lived, the karmic laws of the universe will determine the soul's next destination, which can be seen portrayed in the 6 realms of existence within the Buddhist philosophy, or the 14 lokas in Hindu cosmology. This is a continuous cycle that keeps on spinning round and round and round until we finally wake up and decide it's time to shut it down. See, the ultimate goal within this life is to transcend the physical world, liberate the soul, and return back to where we've always belonged, aka heaven, nirvana, moksha, turiya, samadhi, or whatever you want to call it, as we finally escape the cycle of samsara. But I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you, bro. By no means is this an easy task, because the material world that we live in, aka the matrix, the maya, or the illusion, is filled with pain, suffering, temptations, distractions, and all these obstacles to knock you off this path, keeping you spinning within the cycle of samsara like a goddamn washing machine. So with all that said, for the ones out there who seek for this path to freedom, you better buckle up, because your boys better break this down real quick like a brick for y'all, as we bring our attention over to the Bhavacakra, aka the Wheel of Life, a Buddhist mandala representation of this process of reincarnation. Because just like how a locksmith must study the mechanisms of the lock he's trying to pick in order to break through, you too must understand the systems behind the soul trap before you try to map out your escape plan. Now, starting off at the center or axle of the wheel, we see the 3 key components that keep this cycle spinning. Depicted within the center of the circle are 3 different animals chasing each other's tails, quite similar to the Ouroboros snake that also represents the cycle of reincarnation. But the 3 animals we see here are a pig, a rooster, and a snake, symbolic of the 3 poisons that are the main drivers of samsara, with the snake representing hatred and aversion, the rooster representing greed and attachments, and the pig representing ignorance and delusion, aka the main cog that keeps this whole machine moving, as both attachments and aversion arise from ignorance itself. So just keep that in mind, because this whole illusion runs off your delusion. Now, the second circle contains a black and white binary image of beings on one side moving down to the hellish realms, and beings on the other side moving upwards towards the holy realms, representing karma, aka the universal law of cause and effect, as the dark side is suffering from the side effects of their negative actions, while the light side is benefiting from the byproducts of their good deeds. Whatever a man soweth, he shall also reap, a teaching as old as time itself. Now, the next layer is an illustration of the 6 realms of existence, which can be divided into 3 higher realms and 3 lower realms. Starting at the top of the 3 higher realms is that of the gods or devas. To the right of it is the realm of the demigods or asuras, and to the left of it is the human realm. At the bottom of the lower realms is hell or the demonic plane. To the right of that is the realm of the hungry ghosts, and finally to the left side of that is the animal realm. Now, just to make it clear, these 6 states can be viewed literally as well as metaphorically, each having their own setbacks and obstacles that must be overcome on this path towards liberation. People in the demon or hellish realms are ones who are essentially living life without a conscience, consciousness. Barbaric and with no compassion for other beings, these demons wreak havoc on society and commit the worst atrocities in the world, subject to an endless cycle of pain and suffering if they're unable to rise above these conditions. The hungry ghost realm can be seen as people who are in extreme poverty, in a constant pursuit of fulfilling their basic needs, aka stuck in survival mode, basically unable to think of anything beyond just trying to stay alive and making it to the next day. Now the animal realm can be seen as people who are stuck living within their lowest nature, with their consciousness essentially trapped within a constant state of fear. They operate solely on their base animal instincts to eat, sleep, survive, and reproduce. Think of the lower class of society. Now the demigods are those who have been granted with an abundant life, far from the physical pain and sufferings of the lower realms. Think of the super wealthy upper class, but yet even they are subject to a new set of challenges that they must overcome in order to escape the cycle of samsara, which now are more psychological, as they are ruled by their passions, greed, and desires, always envious of the next realm above them, which is that of the gods. Now these are the people with the utmost power, wealth, and fame in society. Think of royalty, the elite, and the top 1%. And yes, even they have issues that they must face in order to elevate out of this trap, which is the fact that they already have everything that they could ever possibly imagine. So what the is the point of liberation? They are way too preoccupied pursuing meaningless pleasures that keep them stuck within this cycle, as they are essentially ruled by their attachments to the material world. Now this finally brings us over to the human realm, thought of to be as the most suitable role for one to work out their karmas and punch in their one-way ticket back to paradise, as it offers a unique blend where you're not completely distracted by pleasures like the gods or demigods, nor are you going to be completely overwhelmed by the pains and sufferings of the beings in the lower realms. So think of your average Joe in the middle class of society, somewhat beyond the immediate physical threats of life, but also not totally pampered to the point that they have no concept of what it is, giving them a decent taste of the full spectrum of life. Many ancient texts and teachings regarding this topic talk about how fortunate one is to be granted life within this state, as there is a limited amount of opportunities one gets to reincarnate within this realm. 108 existences to be exact when it comes to certain esoteric traditions, which, what do you know, adds up to the number 9, the digit that correlates with the concept of completion within numerology, signifying the 108 tries we get to complete the task at hand.
So because of this, you will see traditionally, if you wear beads, it's 108. If you chant a mantra, it's 108. If you go around an energy space, 108. This is because there are 108 things that one needs to do if he wants to have a complete mastery over the human mechanism itself.
Now onto the last layer of the Bhavacakra is the 12-linked chain of causation, which depict how the 3 poisons turns the cycle of samsara and leads to the suffering associated with this continuous roller coaster of rebirths. Starting off with, of course, ignorance, which transforms to impulses, mental conditionings, formations, senses, impressions, feelings, cravings, attachments, becoming, birth, old age, and finally, death, illustrating how each link to this process eventually stems back to the original cause of ignorance. Now outside of the wheel itself, we can see a few more details when it comes to this world of samsara, starting off with the figure that's holding it, the demon Yama, aka the Lord of Death, wearing a crown of 5 skulls symbolizing the 5 aggregates, as well as sporting the 3rd eye, symbolizing that he sees all and that there's no hiding from your eventual meeting with him at your death to determine your next destination. Now in the corner to the side of him is a Buddha, pointing towards the moon, which is a symbol of enlightenment in Buddhism, representing the path to Nirvana and escaping the wheel of life. And again, these lessons can be found within many other mystical teachings of time, whether that be the return back to the pleroma, aka the original realm of light after one transcends the material world of the demiurge in Gnosticism, reaching Brahma or Satya Loka by fulfilling one's dharma in Hinduism, or reuniting with the infinite through falling the way within the Taoist perspective. The connection between culture to culture in regards to this topic are as clear as day. But with all that said, man, you're probably thinking, okay, I'm low-key picking up what you're putting down, bro, but yeah, how the f do I get up out this Well, relax, don't trip, bro, because now it's time to take all this information and piece the puzzle up to formulate your salvation. Now, according to many teachings on this topic, each and every soul that enters this realm of samsara has been set on a mission or purpose to fulfill on this physical plane, with the human mind and body they habit being the vehicle meant to support them on this journey, as the soul is devoted to act out the divine will of the universe like an instrument. But as soon as it steps onto the physical plane, it starts to accumulate karma, whether good or bad, which eventually formulates what their next incarnation will be if they do not fulfill these karmic duties. Think of it almost like a video game. In order for you to level up and eventually beat the game, you must follow the story and complete the mission set out for the character. But as we discussed before, the material world is filled with negative forces whose job it is to keep you operating at the lowest form of your nature, making you unable to ever uncover and unlock what that soul purpose is, as you essentially get stuck doing side quests and forget the main plot of the story.
I used to be an adventurer like you, and I took an arrow in the knee.
Unfortunately, this is where the majority of people in life are at, due to the fact that they never fully realize who they are and what they were brought here to do, constantly having to come back, respawn, and replay this game of life, choosing instead to chase the things that they think will satisfy them, which inevitably keeps the cycle spinning. Because those whose minds are swept away by the pursuit of pleasure and power are incapable of fulfilling the supreme goal and will not attain Samadhi, as their idea of heaven is that of their own enjoyment, and the aim of all their activities is their own pleasure. The fruit of such actions is continual rebirth. Now, with all that said, you gotta understand that your true nature, aka your highest self, is already here within you and has always been there from the start to help guide you out of this illusion. It's just the fact that your delusions have severely severed your connection to this source. Due to your mental conditionings, aka samskaras from previous births, as well as the influence from your ego, attachments, and the external world, you must slowly peel back the layers of what you falsely perceive to be yourself until you finally tap back in with the core. Because it's only here through the art of self-realization that one is able to find all the answers needed to live out a life in alignment to their soul's purpose, as they cut through the layers of crap, crowding their connection to this inner wisdom and knowledge that will lead them to their liberation. But again, by no means is this an easy task, as it takes far less effort to stay a sheep and remain asleep. But for a man full of faith who is dedicated to the attainment of this transcendental knowledge, who has subdued his senses and discarded his earthly desires, he attains it without delay, the supreme peace of self-realization. This is what was referred to by Jesus when he said that wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destructions which many follow, but small is the gate and narrow is the path that leads to life. Those who find it are few. Or when the Buddha stated that blind is the world where only a few possess insight, and like birds, only a few will escape the net and go to the realms of bliss. Two self-realized masters who were brought here to show us how it's done, perfectly exemplified within the story of Jesus confronting the devil in the desert and the Buddha facing the demon Mara in his meditation under the Bodhi tree, both in the midst of their 40-day fast, overcoming the obstacles presented on their way to illumination by these negative forces. Actually overcoming 3 distinct obstacles to be exact, which sound quite familiar to the 3 poisons that we discussed before. But with all that said, man, to keep it real simple when it comes to this road to self-realization, it really all comes down to reconnecting with that eternal self. Because the spirit already knows its role, knows where it belongs, and knows what is needed to be done in order to make its way back home. So while external sources of information like these mystical teachings, sacred texts, or even videos like this may give you some insights on these type of topics, but at most can only provide you the tools needed to go out and make it happen. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to you seeking the truth for yourself. So just keep that in mind, man, because we can't be wasting any more time. Each life experience that you waste dicking around adds another step away from attaining the supreme goal. Matter of fact, many of these teachings actually preach about with every turn of this cycle, you drift further and further away from your divine connection to the source, which is needed to guide you to freedom, which is depicted in the story The Myth of within Plato's Republic, where every soul set to come back and reincarnate must first drink from the river of Lethe, which is translated to as a river of forgetfulness, as every soul's memory and knowledge of their past lives that can act as lessons to help them on this path to liberation are completely wiped clean, sending them back to ground zero to start up the cycle at the same point once again.
Man, I'm so thirsty. My mouth's still all dusty.
Drink the water.
Whoa, okay, Jake. Don't drink the water.
Come on, I'm so thirsty.
Dude, that skull wants you to drink the water. It's bad water.
Don't drink the water.
See? That means good, right? Yep.
Jake? Jake? Why are you making stupid face?
Who's Jake?
So what's it gonna be, bro? Are you simply gonna brush this all off, pop your little blue pill, and crawl back into your ignorant state of bliss as you continue to ride on this merry-go-round of reincarnation? Or will you finally say enough is enough and do what is needed to be done in order to make this life your last one?